Plensa is an amazing, amazing self-taught, sculptor. I know that, he's the most creative person I know. And his wife, Laura, is the one that actually manages everything he does. Okay? So I want to really welcome both Jaume and Laura to Bangalore. We are so delighted to have you this evening. Everyone is looking forward to listening to you this evening. And I just think that they will be absolutely enthralled and inspired by everything that you've done for the world. So thank you so much for coming here. And I know we also have Juan Antonio March, His Excellency, the Ambassador of Spain, with us today. He actually specially has come here for you because he heard that you were coming here this evening, and I think that's a great tribute to your greatness. And I would request the Ambassador to also say a few words on this occasion. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you very much, Kiran, very much the director of the museum, for inviting me to be with this genius of the modern art, that is Jaume Plensa. You know that the Spanish government agreed with the Indian government to make 2026 the dual year of India and Spain for culture, also for tourism and artificial intelligence, but the first word is culture. So I'm very glad that Bangalore is always so in advance that it's not waiting for 2026. So it's very impressive that the first city that Jaume Plensa has known in India is Bangalore. And thanks to Karin that has had the very good idea to bring him here, and maybe through her generosity to have one of the great works of Jaume in Bangalore. I'm sure that it will be very difficult for Jaume to leave India because this is a country of great soul. So he is an artist that puts to the surface the soul of the people and the soul of a nation. So I think that he will be able to interpret very well what's happening in India. And once he discovers the country, it will be difficult for him to leave. But it's very, very nice that the first city, the first work of Jaume in India will be in this city. So thank you very much, Kiran, for having the view. Thank you very much, Jaume, for being among us. And I hope that we will celebrate very soon the existence of a great work of art in Bangalore, thanks to Jaume. Thank you very much.
It's my time?
It is, indeed.
Sorry, guys.
No, looking forward.
That's okay. Hi. Hello, everybody. Well, thank you, director of the museum. Who is the director? Sorry, thank you. Who you are? Okay. Well, I have to say thank you so much, Kiran. I mean, to be here, it's a little bit more than to do a project. It's something else, and it's very moving. Thank you very much, and thank you, Mr. Ambassador. It's always nice to be near our country, but I guess you are right. I'm afraid that India will be something in my life. Kiran already does, and all the friends that I met thanks to her changed completely the rhythm of my studio. Somebody, I don't remember his name, sorry, I said over there, he did an incredible photo that represents very well what is India. He did a long, long picture with all the friends in between my sculptures. It's one piece, one person, one piece, one person, one piece, one person. And it sucks completely the energy of my studio, my place. Thank you for everything. Okay, my talk will be mainly about my work in the public fields, in the public space. As you know, I'm working also in my shows and galleries and museums, but Kieran was especially interested to show you a little bit what I did in the public fields. I did many projects. I love the public space because probably for me, oh, sorry. Is not working? Sorry. I'm not with technology. It's fine. Well, okay. Yeah, and I guess art has an incredible capacity to build bridges to connect people and cultures. And for me, it's one of probably the most democratic ways to introduce art will be in the urban context, in the natural context, but in the middle of the community. Many times people think about art but don't know exactly what art means. And many times in the museum, it's a very important work to try to analyze the art of an artist or what is a period, the historical things. But many people are never been in the museum. And I like to expand the art to their everyday life and to try to introduce beauty in their lives. Okay, one of the most well-known parts of my work is this kind of human figures made out with text, with letters. I still remember one day I've been in Tel Aviv and I was thinking, wow, maybe life is permanently writing on our skin messages, words, quotes, but with invisible ink. What's happened? What's happened is that suddenly somebody could read on our skin those words and becomes our lover, becomes our friend, I don't know. And then I decided to do the first figure with letters that I entitled Tel Aviv Man. It's not this one. It was a very tiny figure holding empty. And this one was the second pass, which was a kind of big figure that had the capacity to invite people to come in. Oh God, I don't know, why is not working? Okay. You see this little lady, that is Miami. That is little lady sitting in the arms of the figure. That was the dream. The sculptor becomes like a big mom that embraces, and you can see the world through the text. I guess text is a fundamental part of our, let's say, human condition, because if you change a comma, everything changes, the universe changes. And I like it that you see reality through the text. And I did something, the title of that intervention, I like because the museum put this beautiful title. I tried to transform text into something physical. As you know, I'm from the Mediterranean area. Okay. Next. Okay. And I'm from the Mediterranean area, and many times I'm saying that, could you change? Okay. That I need to verify everything. People in the Mediterranean area should caress everything, even light, even dreams, even something that could be invisible could be caressed. And I said many times that I have my eyes in my fingers, in the way that you can expand and touch and caress. And that is the way that I wanted to absolutely to pass the text in that condition. That was a show that I did in Nashville years ago, and those pieces are right now in Washington. But you can see the differences of the text, and then something that I've been, you can pass, check. You see this idea of duality. You are there, I'm here, that is like a conversation. Many times we are in front of another person, and we create an incredible energy in between us that sucks everything around. And I've been working a lot in that idea. I don't know what you feel when you are in front of the mirror every morning with this face a little bit like this. Who is there? Who is the face, or who is the image reflected in the mirror in front of you? And that is the beautiful, could you pass, please? And the idea. And I love when people immediately tried to penetrate inside my pieces. That is at the Rice University. And this little girl was just enjoying walking, dreaming probably. She's not thinking about my work or my sculpture. She just found a place in where to be with herself. That is very important for me as well. I mean, to use my work as a mirror in where people could be reflected. Okay. That was in Tokyo, in Toranomon Hills. That I did this piece. That was the first time in my work that I extend the kind of elongation of the text, the letters. You could go another one, and like roots. You know, this kind of rainforest roots that goes out from the ground, creating the words. You know, it's creating the text, the symbols. And it was a terrific experience in Tokyo. I call it that piece, Roots, because I had a commission in Montreal, another one please, and I follow the same principle more or less, which I'm keeping still today. That idea that wherever you are part of the earth. I mean, I'm from the Mediterranean, I could not be different. And that is the beauty. Each of us has something different that is the beauty of diversity. I'm creating, or I'm trying to imagine a very diverse world in where, with our differences, we can share, talk, and that is the beauty, because if everyone was the same, wow, such a horrible world. And look at the mixture of alphabets, it's also the mixture of the concept of cultures. When you mix Hindi with Hebrew, Arabic, Chinese, Japanese, Latin, Cyrillian, Greek, mamma mia, it's a chaos. But at the same time, it's a certain dynamic harmony that makes everything fantastic, because every one of us are there, but together. And this idea to be together is an obsession for me. And I've been developing. That is the piece that Kieran discovered in Boston at the MIT. I still remember many years ago. And in New York, my gallery said, is somebody interested to invite you to do a piece to celebrate the 150th anniversary of the MIT in Boston? It was a very nice person that becomes a collector of my work as well. And he supported that project. They showed me the campus. It was an incredible place. Many times I'm joking with them because it seems it's a farm of genius. No? They just grow potential genius for the future. And he said, wow, with such a big responsibility. And I know that many of you knows very well mathematics. India is a country of mathematics. And I've been using symbology of mathematics and science, because finally it's also another language, is another alphabet. I'm also using, you will see in other projects, music. I love alphabets, because alphabets finally create a system that allows us to exchange information between us. Finally, when we are talking, we are playing music with our body. And those notes are the letters with the text. And that text is something that another person could read and could play. And I think it's amazing. And this is just, could you go ahead? And maybe I could do it myself. Let me try. And it's right in front of the place in where parents are visiting kids, or when the guys are going to send or to give the applications. It's a perfect entrance that allows you to inside the MIT, and then you can go farther to Harvard, which is a little bit farther. That is a piece that I finished this year in Taiwan, in Taipei. It's a new museum that it has been designed by Renzo Piano. He did a great job. And they asked me to do a piece right in front to celebrate the museum, but also to invite people to be there and to celebrate diversity, as I tell you. And it was really a great experience. That is a piece in London, right in front of the Shah, the tallest building, also from Renzo Piano. And I still remember, I spent almost 7 years making this project. Not because the size, because it was so complicated. Because the owners of the building changed several times, and an artist is just, sometimes an artist is well, okay, but the beauty is the place, because it's at the exit of London Bridge, and it's a little square, and you are in front of this giant. It's incredibly big piece, and the square is so little, so tiny. You see, that is the Shah, and the exit of London Bridge, and here is this little square. And said, we would love to ask you a commission of art in front of the Shah. Okay, I said, where? There. I said, Mamma mia, but it's so small. And the proportion is incredibly, and I felt this legend of David and Goliath, this big giant and the little person trying. And then I even been more happy with the problem, because people are allowed to come and to walk inside. It's like a shelter. Finally, my work is like a poetical shelter in where you feel protected from the big giants that surrounds around. And I did several pieces with him or with Norman Foster, with other big architects. And architects are always upset about the building. And I'm upset about people. And that is the strange combination, because for me the importance of a city is people. For them the importance is boom, okay. You see, it was a beautiful dialogue in between the two fragments, the hanging piece on top of the exit of the train station, and the building, and the piece in front of the building, which allow you to look it up and to see everything through the letters. Okay, that was a beautiful project. It was one of the first projects that I did with text. It was in Antibes, in the south of France, in the Côte d'Azur. And it's this piece right installed in front of the Mediterranean Sea. Sorry, I'm in the middle. I think it's beautiful. It was a very funny history, because finally they invited me to do an exhibition. The Picasso Museum in Antibes invited me to do a show. And I said, okay, I will do the show, but only with one piece. And I did that, the sculpture. Okay, the funny thing, or the beautiful thing, was the people in the city was starting to collect signatures to ask the mayor to keep the piece. And the mayor said, look, Jaume, I have not money. I said, well, okay, but I could not even give you that piece because it should go to Miami. And then the piece has been sold in Miami, and now the piece is in Des Moines in Iowa. Okay. But if I win the elections, let's do another piece. And okay, and we did the deal. He won the elections, I did the piece. And the piece is there since 12 years already. No, 15 years. It was in 2007. Well, yeah, Mamma mia, it's a lot of time. Yes. Okay, in any case, text again. One of my preferred points is the Song of Songs. It was a fantastic text from the Bible, and in where a woman is desperately looking for her lover in the walls of Jerusalem. She is walking and walking. And I did many pieces like that, like curtains. I don't know in India, but in my little town, when I was a child, all the stores and business places to buy had curtains with very little pieces of metal. And when my mother was there buying, I always was playing with the metal pieces. It was a bling, 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 a beautiful sound. And I tried to do it with poetry. I guess poetry finally is the fantastic curtain that protects us from the mosquitoes and flies of life. Everything that disturbs us, thanks to poetry, we are protected. And all those curtains that I did many, that it was in New York, but this was in Yorkshire, at the Yorkshire Sculptor Park. I did a very long piece. I guess it was 13,000 letters there. It was a crazy piece that then it was in Umeå, in the north of Sweden, and now the piece is in the public library. They bought the sculptor, and we installed the piece in the ceiling, and it's beautiful because it seems that it's permanently raining poetry on top of the tables. I think it's fantastic. And that was something that makes me very pleased. The Opera House in Barcelona asked me to do the doors, because they had no doors. It was a kind of entrance, but not a protecting doors. And I did this beautiful idea of 3 doors, but the doors that not open like this, but like in a stage, you know, going up with a kind of motors, engines that you can see. It's not. It's very beautiful, and you see, this is open now. For example, that you can open in separate moments. You can open like this, and I think it was brilliant because you see during the night, all the shadows expand out of the theater, and it makes a very magic feeling with this, you know, you see. Okay, that is a piece that I finished recently last year for a museum in the US. That is a new museum that was at the University of Notre Dame in Indiana. And I did this column of letters. Well, I don't know for you, but many times we are dreaming that thanks to our thoughts, you can go to a paradise, to the sky, to a place above us, something that could illuminate us in some ways. And I did this tower of letters. You see that when you go out of the museum, it's in front of this of the sky, and it seems that one day you can climbing up and go to reach something that it's almost complicated for us. We are like chickens that we dream to fly, but it's complicated. And then we have to fly with our dreams. And that was a very beautiful piece. And that is the opposite. That is I don't know if you follow in the newspaper. It was a terrible flow in Valencia that a lot of people unfortunately died. That was a project that I did last year in Valencia. It's a permanent piece for a foundation. And many times I'm thinking about the friends that I did over there, because a lot of people die, unfortunately. And this piece is, you know, it's funny because it's surrounding all the walls, like, you know, I don't know, many times, I don't know if you notice, there's plenty of mosquitoes in the walls. But many times also our dreams just get this ticket in a complicated way. Okay. And okay, that was in Japan. It was a very nice experience. That was in this little island. It's Seto. It's a kind of little sea, an interior sea, besides Katamatsu, which is a very beautiful city. And they asked me to do a place in where people could buy the tickets or to have a cup of soup, because it was an island for fishers that stopped to work and was declining completely. And I imagine this little pavilion as a self-portrait, let's say. What could be the most precise idea of a self-portrait? And I said, well, an oyster, for example, that has 2 sides, and you can get enclosed inside yourself. And I did this side, which is the roof of that little pavilion. And, well, mamma mia. Okay. And the other, you see, is the reflection on the water, which close the 2 sides. Wait a second, this is fantastic. Okay, that is the pavilion with the roof, very simple. And those guys are buying a t-shirt or the tickets for the ferry departs over here. And I did an island in the island, let's say, because I'm surrounded with water, everything. And it's the reflection of the roof on the water. And one part is real, physical, and the other part is an illusion. It's just the reflection on the water. And this photo was done by Laura, and this is me. You probably noticed the shape, a special shape. Okay. And And this is also a very exciting project. You probably know that New York has a very long and beautiful tradition of lobbies, to decor the lobbies of beautiful buildings, things like that. And finally, one day, I got the commission to do a lobby, which was the 30 of Hudson Yards. And I don't know if you have been there, because it's a very fantastic place. Probably you have almost a 360 degrees to view of over New York in the, I guess it's the 100th floor. I don't remember now. Okay, that is the entrance lobby. And my dream was to create the planets, because it's plenty of escalators. And I thought, well, can you imagine to fly over the planets? And it was plenty of this kind of spheres, this kind of walls, but made out with voices. I said voices, it's because I thought many times, well, the voices, when we spoke, where is going all these sounds? And a very ancient poet in France, Rabelais, François Rabelais, in one of his books, was talking about a sailor who was with his team in the middle of the sea, and suddenly they start to listen unconnected sounds in the middle of the ocean, and they get scary. And then suddenly the sounds becomes like a rain of gems, diamonds, rubies, pieces like that, pom pom, on top of the boat. And the sailor said, "Please, sell me wars." And he said, no. That is the thing that do the lawyers. I'll sell you silence, and more expensive. And I think it's a very beautiful metaphor about silence and wars, because many times the war remains silent. And when the ambience is war, it starts to just drop down, like in connected sounds, which was the problem with Rabelais. And also creating a kind of planets floating in the middle of that kind of lobby that connects two avenues. I guess it's the 10th and 11th Avenue. Okay. Okay. Okay, that was a show at the MACBA, at the museum in Barcelona, and it was, I did that sphere. It was at that period, but made out with music. It was the score of several music for violin, which I like it, and I just put this together with curtains of text. That curtain especially is the curtain that I done in Germany at the Kunsthalle in Mannheim many years ago, with the complete Declaration of Universal Human Rights. That was a fantastic poem that we did as humanity, but we never apply. I don't know. It's plenty, 30 articles. Unfortunately, it's just a dream, okay? And it's the curtain. And the curtain's name, it's very nice because it's Gluckau, which is a German name. And because I've been doing a project, an opera project of Magic Flute many years ago in Germany, in an area of was plenty of miners. And they told me that the way to say hello for them was Gluckau, because they were very deep inside the earth, and Gluckau was good luck but up, which I think is very intelligent, no? Okay. Okay, that was also another one of the spheres. It's hard to see. I'm sorry, the photo. I love the photo because it's people around. But here inside is a human figure also. And it's the idea that you are surrounded by your ideas and your dreams and your world, closing up something around you. And that is one of the pieces. That it was in Atlanta. The installation was last year. The piece, I don't know why they bought the sculptor years ago and they kept in the storage until last year. Okay. Okay, and this, I wanted, no, it's not a public commission, but I wanted to absolutely to show you because it talks a lot about my intention with a sculptor. Mainly, I'm trying to talk about the vibration of the materials. Vibration of the materials is because when I was a child, my father at home was playing piano. There's a vertical piano, and it was two sliding doors on the bottom. And when my brother and I was fighting, I just hidden myself inside the piano of my father. And many times my father was playing the piano with me inside. And you probably know the piano has a triangular harp, and you have the exactly place for you crouching like this when I was 3 years old. I never forgot it. I never forgot the vibration of everything around. The smell of a piano, wood, dust, strings, this is felt, this kind of materials that you never forgot, but especially the vibration of materials. And I use the cymbals to do it. I did several installations with droplets of water falling down and beating the cymbal. I've been using poetry from William Blake. When you are engraving the cymbals, you are eating material. That means you change the sound of that instrument. You change the sound because you lose the material to make the letters. And every letter has a different shape. That means that every poem is changing in a different way the sonority of its cymbal. And it was a fantastic way to do installations of many. And it's very interesting because when people went inside the spaces, they said, what's happened? I don't sound nothing. And it's because we are very noisy. And then they start to find the right position, and they start to listen the sound. And when you listen the first, wherever you are, you continue to listen and listen. It's a beautiful idea of perception of sound, or something that we lose, unfortunately, very often. And that was the transformation of those shows into a commission that was at the Burj Khalifa in Dubai. I got the commission to do the entrance lobby of the apartments. As you know, the Burj Khalifa has 3 entrances, the offices, I guess the Armani Hotel, and the apartments. And that is the entrance for the apartments. And I did an installation with 196 countries. Each country is one symbol. And the droplets of water are falling down, beating the sound, and creating circles in the water. I think it's a beautiful piece. And this guy don't let people go in if he's not the owner of an apartment. And it's very frustrating because sometimes friends went to see the piece and said, no, it's impossible, you are not living here. In the opposite, one day in the cinema, we watched the Mission Impossible 4. And Tom Cruise passing in between. I said, Mamma mia. The best moment of the movie, 3 seconds, but it was good. You see, it's just beautiful. It's about 15 or 16 meters tall, every rod, and it's amazing. It's a so beautiful piece. I fabricate all the symbols in Italy, in Pistoia, and then it was covered with gold to reflect exactly like the color of the desert. It was, I think, a very beautiful project, you see. And all those circles, you see with the droplets of water, it's the circles that I've been using also many times. That is a project conceived in 2007 but installed in 2023 at the Opera House in Madrid. That they had not a cupola in Madrid. And I did, well, it was a very funny history. I just installed a camera in the ceiling, and it's the real ceiling that they have in Madrid through LED screens and projectors. It's a beautiful, it's a mapping, let's say, with this, you see. I think it's beautiful because when the opera starts, it just is off. And then appear in the middle, or when the people are starting to go in. And it's very interesting because it gives you a certain way to be in the theater. Because you arrive from the street with a lot of noisy problems, your business, I don't know, your family. And then, because it's moving, it's not a photo, the sky is moving in a very slow way. It's a little bit slower than reality is. And people start to relax. And then it's when opera starts. I think I love this project. I think it's very interesting. Okay, and that was another project that I did in Germany, in Augsburg. And it was this idea that many times we are thinking about our body, and our body it's also plenty of beauty. And they invite me to do a show at the museum in Augsburg, but also in the gas Kessel. It was where they were producing the gas for the city a long time ago. And now is an incredible empty space like our heart. And I did this piece, which is a piece made with air. It's huge. And then I installed the piece in Barcelona in the School of Medicine. I don't know if you remember that Kira told you that we are friends with the director of the hospital. Well, thanks to him, I did this crazy thing. It was fantastic because we installed the piece, and the day after, it was a big photo in The Guardian in London. And because everybody was saying, what is this, an alien, or what is this crazy thing? And it was very successful. Unfortunately, it was an installation for 4 days. But maybe that is the beauty also. So many times, I'm not complaining if one piece don't remain in the public space, because it's when people miss more art. They said, but why is not here anymore? Many times people always, when we have a commission, said, but how they spend money in these stupid things when we need this and that? Okay, but when you remove the piece, but why? It was fantastic, we love it. Okay, it's always this conflict many times with the community, but we have to insist. I guess art in the public space is very, very important, besides museums or galleries. That was also one of the families of my work, which is the kind of estilites, the people that decided to live on the top of poles. And I installed those pieces all around the wall. And you see, in many different places. Finally, those figures, that is in Dallas, those figures has a very gentle way to move light inside in a very, probably all the colors, but it's moving very slowly from one to another color. And it's a kind of conversation in between those. Because I don't know if you agree, maybe, but sometimes when you are talking with somebody, suddenly you get green, and the other gets red, and the other gets yellow, because you agree, oh, everybody's blue. And that it's a different rhythms in the way to move the lights. And it's very nice because that park, well, that square in Nice has the tramway passing in between. And it's very nice because at the moment that the tramway is passing, the lights are moving in a very gentle way. And, but it's something changing. I think it's a very interesting piece. Okay, wait a second. And that it's you probably remember that it's a building in Barcelona from Gaudí, La Pedrera. I did a show inside the building, but outside I installed one of my white heads, and on the roof it was one of those figures. It was a very beautiful exhibition in dialogue with a person so extraordinary as Gaudí was. You see in the roof was very beautiful with the landscape of the city. Yeah, and that is another of my families, which is my self-portrait covered with names of music composers in one group, or another group with the name of the longest river in the world, the fluid, the idea of fluid. And I like because I'm embracing a tree. Kieran mentioned the word alchemist. I've been always fascinated with the alchemists. It was a people in the Middle Age that was, they call, changing lead into gold. No? This idea, from the dead body, a new life was coming up. From the dead material, the mineral, a new life was coming out, which is the tree. And the tree was going up, and they said, from the dead material, the branches embrace the cosmos. And they call the philosophical tree, this idea that from an, you see, and I've been doing installations with real tree, that is cherry trees at Yorkshire, Sculptor Park. And our experience, we have several pieces around the wall, and that the trees grow faster and better when they are embraced. Believe me, botanists tell me that it is wrong, but I believe me it's true. With Laura, we check, I remember in Germany, a collector called me one day and said, Jaume, you must to come. And he had three trees in the garden, and he installed one of my figures in the center one. And the tree was much taller than the other two in 1 year. I always said, but that is love. And they said, but Jaume, you know, but okay, I believe it. Okay. Okay, guys. That was in Shanghai. You see always these little hills with the trees. Okay, in Toledo, in Ohio. Okay, and that it's, I don't know who told me that he was in Chicago when I did that sculpture. And you probably know that it's a piece that becomes certain iconic in the city with the Crown Fountain at Millennium Park. And I did that piece, I remember, in 2004 was then. I started in 2000. I spent 4 years working in that piece almost. And the obsession was to try to really pay homage to the people which make a city. Normally, when you talk about Chicago, everybody talks about architecture. He said, okay, bad people. And we film with a group of professors from the School of the Art Institute, 1,000 faces of people living in town, which are changing random in the screens. And then I've been always fascinated by the gargoyles. When I was a child with my mother at the Gothic area in Barcelona, I was fascinated by the faces, the grotesque faces of birds or animals or people with mouths like this, spouting water when it was raining. In the Central Europe also, it's plenty of beautiful fountains with grotesque faces. Okay, and I decided to use 1,000 faces, but as a gargoyle, and we film a kind of clips that they are clicking eyes, and suddenly they close the eyes, they do that position, it is real water going out through the LED screens. Okay, it was in the beginning like a scandal for the municipality, because to pass water through electric material in the middle of the public space, they said, Jaume, you are crazy. But we work with a company, a Belgian company for the LED screens, and then a Canadian company in Toronto for all the water systems. And I've been many times in Toronto with an umbrella trying to understand how strong the water was beating our heads. Well, we did so much samples, nothing happens never. We designed a new concept of nozzle in the way that the water is passing through. And I think it's a fantastic piece that this year it's celebrating the 20th anniversary. Unfortunately, times go by, and yeah, 30 years. And look at that, was my intention, was to talk about places inhabited by people. But these people was filmed, I remember, we bought a chair that was from a barber, that was a motor, an engine, 2 lights, and we rent the camera of Sony, they did Star Wars at that time. And it was a big camera, and came with the cameraman, everything. And we filmed the people in high resolution, and with a group of students, we elongate the face and scratch both sides to have always the eyes in the same place and the mouth as well, because finally here was the nozzle and the eyes. But the beauty for me was not to make portraits, but to catch the soul of people and to fit everyone at the same space. Because I always believe that memory put all our records in the same place, in the same size. After we make some wrong decisions maybe, but at the moment, and look at how beautiful is. Every person has the same expression, you see, eyes closed, and look at the successful piece was for kids. Immediately kids were my supporters. And they went back every day completely wet home, and the families were a little bit unhappy in the beginning, but they understood that a new concept for a fountain is not to be seen, but to be in. As you know, our body is composed by almost 60–70% of water. Water is the most important element in life. Why not to walk on the water? Because water means freedom. Water means dialogue, means, well, in the ancient text about philosophy, they always said that water is impossible to see twice because it's always moving. And I like because it's the symbol of movement, it's the symbol of creation. And I like it with kids who are so happy with me, you see. And they just enjoy, no? Which is, I think, fantastic. And it, yeah. The piece was beautiful because you can imagine that that is the edge of the pool, is a reflecting pool, 1/8 of an inch thick. That means that you can walk with your shoes and nothing happens. And it's very nice when people are outside and looking. When they do the movement and goes in, it starts to smile. Because it's finally, no? Many times, I guess, we have plenty of dreams that we don't know yet. And that was one, to walk on the water, which is something, almost a legend, is a dream. And we got it in that. Well, those are, that is the opera in Bordeaux. I know, I love opera. And many times, I'm trying to be near the water or near the opera, but near something like this. And that shows that it was in Venice, during the Venice Biennial in 2013. That is the Grand Canal. This kind of big heads cast in iron, that is in harbor also. That is normal people. I'm working with alphabets to celebrate diversity, but also with portraits. Coming from the Crown Fountain, where I film people, I decided to continue the idea of portrait, but in more traditional materials, like wood, alabaster, marble, cast iron, bronze, etc. And these people are young women, very in the, I don't know, 14, 18, 20, which is a moment that beauty moves very quickly and fast. And I scanned the head today, and the day after, this person does not exist anymore, it's another. And it's a way to froze in the moment of the life of these people. And in that case, it's cast in iron. And in Toledo, you see I'm compressing the volume. And it seems that when you are walking from one side to another, it just disappears. That was last year in Belgium, in Mons. It was a beautiful installation. That is in Yorkshire. Well, you see that I have many things in Yorkshire. We have a very strong relationship with that place, with the new director, the former director, with everybody. I love this place in the world. I had an assistant from Yorkshire as well. And that was in Russia before the big disaster. And it was at the Hermitage Museum also. And that was a very nice installation that I did at the Reina Sofia in Madrid. Even with the symbols, I was trying to talk about the perception of the sound in that piece. I was trying to talk about the perception of the eyes. Many times we believe that we already seen, but we don't see nothing. And here I remember people in the opening came inside. They said, "Jaume, there's nothing in. It's empty." I said, yes, but wait a second. And then suddenly the pieces starts to appear, the more and more, you see, with the finger asking silence, which is another of my obsessions. You see, in the night, when you illuminate the piece, becomes much more magic. And that is the piece that I have right now in Palma de Mallorca, in collaboration with a German curator. And we did a very, that was in Brazil. You see, this piece is, I don't know if I could say public, because we need to hold the piece somewhere. But it's like a huge drawing in the space. I like because it seems make like drawing. I did many drawings like that. But when it's holding like this, I love this piece. That, yeah. That is the show. It's actually open, this show. I guess they use the museum, use the display for announced exhibition. And it's also very important, you see all the projection of the shadows. I believe a lot like in Katamatsu in Japan. that one part was real and the other was just the reflection. One day I did a show in New York, and it was a piece called Talking Continents, with all floating, with the perfect shadows on the ground. And one artist in New York came to the opening and said, Jaume, if tomorrow you miss one of the shadows, it's because I stole it. And I love it, the concept, because the shadow is very important in a sculptor. And this guy immediately understood how important it was probably more important the shadow than the object in itself. And that was a terrific, well, an incredible good project in Nashville, that on top of a pond. Many people ask me how you put the pieces on top of the water, and I never talk about it. I guess I have also my secrets. You look at how beautiful in the night. It's yeah, okay. And that is one of the work I did for many years. I mean, when I'm scanning the head, as you know, you collect a 3D information in your computer, which is a mesh. That mesh is not the mesh of the computer, it's a mesh that we designed, making squares, not diamonds that I don't like so much. But I like because it's an idea to expand and contract in the same way. You have the same crossing dots in 30 meters than in 3 centimeters. And I love that because I guess it's talking in a very precise way about our body. And also, you have the capacity to see how one ear or our nose looks from inside, which is always the problem. Can you believe it? If it was possible to go inside the head of somebody else, well, I don't know if it's nice, but it would be at least very passionate. And I did many. And one, look at that in yours again, that it was fantastic because all the traditional British landscape was inside my head, you see. And I think it was really very powerful, very interesting. And that piece is in the Museum of Philadelphia, and it looks also terrific because it's in the end of a corridor, and when you see the piece, you feel it's just a projection. It seems that it's not real. It's really very well installed. That was the new art that Frank Gehry did in the museum. Yeah. And that is a very interesting piece. That the building behind is a designed building by Norman Foster. And the city of Calgary asked me to do something in front because the shape of the building is like a circle, and it creates a new square in downtown Calgary. And I did that piece, which I think is fantastic because it's again a poetical shelter to protect from the giants. Because I still remember in London, the team of Foster said, but Jaume, you must be very careful with the scale because our beams are huge. I said, but I'm not interested in your beams. I'm interested in people. And people has the same size all over the world. You see, it's a fantastic place. And in that head, I did the door, 2 doors. And that allows us to really go inside and to enjoy the shape, the interior shape of a head. And when you are inside, you see the landscape, the skyline of Calgary through the face, which is a little homage to René Magritte, which I always love it. And I think it's a very beautiful piece. In winter is especially, well, winter in Calgary is something. And because it's completely covered with ice, and I think it's very beautiful, the piece. And that is San Giorgio Maggiore, where in 2015 for the Venice Biennial, I did that installation inside the church. And it's a church that continues to do the Mass. And I wanted to talk about what is the content of one human being. And I thought it was air and light. And this idea that the view continues passing through. You never blinds the things that you have behind. I think it was very beautiful because even if that is not your religion, it's something that links all of us, which is the spirituality. And I think doesn't matter what is your religion. The importance is to be together in that idea of spirituality. And I did that piece, which the project calls Together, because it's the blessing hand that many cultures are using in different shapes, because also the hands are also a way to talk. It's an alphabet in itself. And I did the hand, but with different alphabets as well, you see. It was a very, very, a very beautiful piece, you see, with the projection of shadows in both sides. And it's all done by, you see, the alphabet all around. It's the blessing position. You see. Pardon? Come on, okay. And, okay, well, maybe in the room is some artists and they could understand me when I said that many times a commission could be a nightmare. And many times they invite you to do shows in crazy places. And that was one of the crazy places. The church was fantastic. It was from the 16th century, an amazing place. But they have something in the back called the Manikalunga. And it's a space for shows that makes 2.5 meters by 52. You see, but what I could do. And finally I found those 5 blocks of alabaster, which is, probably you know that alabaster is born in nature like spheres. And it's not so big normally. But I found 5 big blocks of alabaster in time to carve for that project. And I create that sequence, which is a little bit the idea of the Fibonacci, you probably remember, which is the progression. And we create that Fibonacci in the room, and I guess it was one of the most beautiful installations I never did. It was one light in top of each. The guy which is in between is the guy which takes care about the shows in San Giorgio Maggiore. And the show was absolutely amazing. And look at the quality and the beauty of the stone. The alabaster, so white and perfect. It was a miracle. I have to say that was everything. All the project was a miracle. And well, I link that image with this one, which is also a very interesting project for me in Madrid. Maybe you have seen it visiting the city. And many years ago, it was this statue here. And they decided to move in the center of this, I don't know why. Okay, in any case, they decided to use the plinth to invite another artist. And I was invited to do that installation, which is a girl called Julia. And it was done to stay for 1 year. That was in 2018. And it was a little bit like in Antif. People start to collect signatures, to talk with the mayor. And the piece is not mine, it's a foundation who bought it. And every year they do a new agreement to keep the piece on. And I understood the other day that they did a deal to keep the piece until 2027. Okay. I think it's perfect. And that is the similar work or the piece that I did in New York at Madison Square Park many years ago. As you know, Madison Square Park are invited one artist in summer and one artist in winter, or two, to try to create a space in where people could sit and enjoy. And the other day I've been in New York, and that photo will be completely impossible because they built a new building right here. You know, this kind of very thin buildings and very tall. And I guess it will blind the Empire State in that case. Okay, in any case, that piece was thinking about this idea of Echo. You know, Echo was a nymph in the Greek tradition that was in love with Narcissus. But Zeus, who was a guy who was in love with all the girls in the world, was a little bit angry. And he condemned her to live in the grapes and repeat every time the last word that she listened. And that is Echo, okay? And I guess it was a nice idea because we are living in a moment that we don't know anymore if the things that we are saying are our ideas or just something that come to us from another brain, and we are just an echo of other things. And New York, I guess, was an interesting place to talk about it. And that is echo. Echo finally, look at, it's working when I'm going down. And look at that, it's the hair of the piece. It was a little homage to Brancusi, the endless column, in front of the Flatiron building, which is also very interesting because it's compressed, like my work. And the piece finally finished. A collector bought the piece and gave the piece to the museum in Seattle. And I asked the museum, but the museum is right there, to install the piece in the border with the water, which I like. Because you probably know that right in front of Seattle is a little island with a Mount Olympus. It's a coincidence. And that is a beautiful park with fantastic artists you can see. And I'm very pleased because the piece finally gets a good place. And that was another project that I did in Brazil. I spent a little while to get the permission to install the piece in the water, but I got it, and in front of the Sugarloaf, and it was fantastic, that head rising from the water off, and right in front of the Corcovado. You see that? Wait a second. You see you probably know Rio de Janeiro, but probably is one of the most beautiful cities in the world. And it was fantastic because it was a project for 6 months. It was a show with several artists. Each one chose one place in the city. And one bank in town did a beautiful publicity using my photos, saying, we already knew Rio was beautiful, but now is unforgettable. And that I love it because many times art has this capacity not to transform completely the space, but to give a soul in the site. Many times, everything is beautiful, yes, but I guess we need something more. It's not enough to be beautiful. Should be something more. And that piece was a fantastic experience. Okay, when the show was finished, Chicago asked me the piece to celebrate the 10th anniversary. You see, 2014. I did the other project 2004. And I installed the piece in the center of the park, which is, it's not, you see, in between, facing the part in where it split the city in north and south. Because I felt that it was not an ocean, but something similar. And the piece was beautiful. And one guy passing in front said, I love this piece, and he bought it. And this guy is the one who founded the Museum Perez in Miami. And now we are very close friends. We never met before. And the piece now is installed in Miami. Okay? And I also asked Jorge Perez, please, could you install the piece not near the museum, that is the museum, but in front of the water. And we installed the piece, you see, right in front of the entrance of the harbor. That is probably, you know, this fantastic bridge that goes to Miami Beach. Yeah? And the piece now, it's happy there. And yes, that is a fantastic project. That it's in the museum in Grand Rapids. And I decided to use the relief that is something that we lose in the last times in the contemporary art. And I did that in marble. It was funny because this afternoon with Kiran, we visit a place to buy marble because I love stones. And she's so kind with me that she said, you like a stone? Let's visit the stones. Okay. And all the group was a little bit boring. Come on, Jaume, stones. And it was fantastic because we arrived to the store. There was plenty of plates of stone. And I said, it's from India? No, it's from Vietnam. I said, and this is from Vietnam as well. I mean, it was a kind of beautiful accident because when I decided to do that piece, as far as it's made with blocks, fragments, I was trying to get a marble which has not veins. And with my stone technicians that helps me in this kind of projects, we decided that probably in Vietnam was the best quarry in that way. And today we verify that it probably is true, because this guy had fantastic. Okay, and we bought 400 tons of marble from Vietnam. Carving and carving, we add 100, and the piece is 300 tons. That it's impossible to imagine that it's so heavy. But it's just beautiful. You see the formation when you are closer. And that it's because, I don't know if you experience, when you are nearby somebody, for example, sleeping, and you look at with the eyes, the face makes strange shapes. Even there could be beautiful, but, and I love this anamorphosis, you know. And this is, again, a new celebration of life. It's 4 walls, and each wall is one person from a different place geographically. And that is always something that, for me, is very important. I mean, the diversity, the humanity, this idea to be together. And that was also a very interesting project that it's in near Liverpool, in St. Helens. It was a colliery that when Margaret Thatcher canceled all the mining system for carbon, everybody was without jobs. And 20 years later, they decided to transform the colliery into a public park. And they asked me, the ex-miners, to do a project. And I decided to do the head. That was probably my first head, I guess. It was complicated. I never did a head before. And this head is 20 meters tall. The hill, it's about 180 meters from the sea level. And I said, well, 20 more and it's 100. I don't know why. But I love it, this kind of things. And you see, and the piece was rising off from the trees. That is the M62, the road which is connecting Liverpool with Manchester. And you see, this is me, okay? And that was the day that we unveiled the project. It was a tremendous ceremony. It was fantastic, honestly. It was one of the best days. And that was at the 5th Avenue. It was also that moment that Mr. Trump was fighting against Mexico a lot to create a new wall. And I was thinking a lot, probably the worst walls are our hands when we cover our eyes to see. We prefer don't see it. And that is the idea of behind the walls. And that piece was very beautiful. And the place was very strong. And after New York, the piece was traveling to Mexico. That is in Brazil. There's another piece. Sorry, I forgot. It's not the. Sorry, I forgot the. Wait, it's not the show in Mexico. Okay, sorry, but that is in Brazil. Another one. No eyes, no mouth. You see, that is, yeah, that is a beautiful museum made out for Álvaro Siza, which is a beautiful Portuguese architect, fantastic. Look at the sculptor in the public fields, how well they work with people when they're just naturally enjoying. I think without the piece, the museum seems dead. And architects don't like when I'm talking like this. But I guess art is so important in dialogue with architecture. I mean, it's the thing that I told you before. The building could be beautiful, but the soul, we need to introduce soul in the places. And we have to really, well, that is a piece that I have in Hawaii, in Lanai, is an island. And I have another huge sculptor I have to send over there. But look at that, it's a little bit exotic. Okay, that is a very beautiful sculptor that I have in Napa. He's in a winery. It's a very interesting collector who is building an incredible collection in the winery. And I love this photo because everything was foggy that day. And she is a girl from Sweden, from Umeå, which is about 600 kilometers up in the north from Stockholm. And it works so well in Napa Valley, I guess, this girl. Sana is her name. Okay, and that is the last. I'm finishing. And that is the last project that I installed in 2021 when it was plenty the problem with the COVID. I don't know in India if you had also that problem, but in Spain, in Europe, was terrible. And I did that piece, which is 22 meters tall, and it was for me impossible to install myself because it was forbidden to go in US at that moment. And we postponed completely the opening and everything. But that is one of the obsessions. At that area, which this part of the wall is New Jersey, and that area of New York, that is Hoboken. You see the train station and where the ferry stops from Battery Park. Okay, it was where the Lenape Native Americans were living. And the Lenape people were trying to believe about everything in nature, a tree, a stone, an animal. Everything was something alive, something with a soul. And I guess I believe something very similar. And that was the reason I gave this title, Water Soul, because the position of the finger is not to ask silence to Manhattan, it's to ask silence to the people nearby, to listen to the water. The water has an amazing sound that we forgot completely. Now people were still working, but now is plenty of people just facing Manhattan. It's an incredible place to enjoy the city. And look at this, is Laura. And you see, it's a pier going inside the Hudson River, and everything is like a terrace that you can enjoy the view of Manhattan. But my intention was not to ask silence to the city, but to ask silence ourselves, to listen the sound of the water, the profound sound of the water. And I think it was a very beautiful installation. I guess that piece represents pretty well my intentions. With Kira, we are dreaming to do something in this city. We don't know yet what, but it will be unforgettable. Thank you.
Thank you, Jaume.
Maybe I touched something.
No, don't worry. Thank you so much for this amazing talk and showing us your work, and we can't wait to have your piece. May I please request Harish, the director, to give the vote of thanks.
Hi. So they say a picture is worth a 1,000 words, but I think we can agree that Jaume Plensa's work is worth 100,000 words, and yet I'm speechless. I think from the first piece I saw, which was Roots, all the way to the last one, which is Water Soul, every time I saw a piece, I said, this is my best, this is my favorite. And then something else came which blew my mind. So thank you so much for being here and sharing the magic with us. I'd like to thank His Excellency Juan Antonio for gracing us with your presence. Kiran, thank you for bringing this genius to us. Thank you, Harshita and Santosh, for the ISL interpretation. And thank you, all of you, for coming to MAP, and particularly Pradeep and Kalpana for their first visit. Thank you.